Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Logistics Lager Lounge. And my guest this afternoon is Andrew Gadsden. Thank you for joining us today, Andrew.
Cheers, David.
So, and thanks for the beer. I've got my one here. So, can't see it there. You can see it now in front of me. That's it. Got to have a beer. First question I was going to ask you, if that's all right, is tell us about your career and how it's evolved over time, please.
Well, it's been a varied career, really. I didn't initially come into sort of transport logistics industry, but really started in construction plant hire, which from a company called Hewden Plant, and then basically spent many, many years doing various roles, regional managers, depot managers, sales manager, and then evolved really into working for JCB Direct, which was obviously selling equipment rather than hiring it out. So I kind of hopped in that field quite a lot. And then it's really by chance that, like anything else, a role came up at a company called Asprey Transport, where they wanted a sales director. Now, previously, not a lot of experience, but obviously they wanted a certain type of person that would go in there and have a look at things and hopefully fresh pair of eyes, not necessarily somebody from the industry who would look at things exactly the way that it had already been done. So I went in there as a sales director, ended up on the board, and had 3 wonderful years there. Really enjoyed it. But as all good things come to an end, it came to an end, and ended up being in recruitment. And not looked back since, really.
Good. And tell us about JCB. Obviously, JCB is a massive organisation. And I'm including myself, I admire it. I don't really know. What was it like working for the wonderful JCB?
They're a fantastic company, and you meet lots of amazing people there. People that you can't believe that are that do some fantastic things. I met a guy that did the Diesel Max, which was the fastest diesel car in the world. He basically put 2 engines together, and he built that car and made it the fastest car in the world. So people like that, you got such a diverse range of people that you meet there, which is fantastic. So it's great in one respect, but it's also a bit like how I imagined what a boarding school would be like, really. It was very, very formal. What I mean by that is you had to wear a shirt and a tie. Nobody told you to do it, but you did it. It was very old-fashioned, great values within the business, and it was just an amazing experience, just getting to learn how. I consider JCB not really necessarily a manufacturer, which they are, which is their end product, but they're probably the best marketing company you will ever meet. The way they promote their products, because some of the products maybe were not as good as other products, but do you know what? They made them sound and be the best product on the range in the marketplace. Fantastic company, great ethos, and still doing amazingly well today. And it's a company that will just keep going further forward. Like most companies, they found their niche in the construction industry, in the respect that they sort of went up to a sort of a mid-range equipment. So they'd only go up to something like a 46-ton excavator, as opposed to, say, Caterpillars, which will do like 1,000-ton excavator. And some of the really big machines. JCB don't do the absolutely enormous machines, but they do volume machines like mini excavators, JCB backhoe loaders, which is obviously they were the ones that really invented the backhoe loader back in the day, and telescopic handlers, market leader in telescopic handlers. And they've done amazing with factories all around the world now. And they're the biggest, if you like, supplier of construction equipment in India, which is obviously, a market of the future. It's a market now, but it's one that's just growing exponentially. So it's probably a bit like China was 20 years ago. So yeah, it was great, absolutely great experience. I managed to travel the world with them, see lots of different cultures, different people, and you get lots of different points of view, which is which formulates your opinions going further forward of how you do things. So it was a fantastic experience. I wouldn't take it back for anything.
And they're a truly global business. Are they publicly listed or private? Or
it's totally private. It's a totally private company owned by Lord Bamford. I believe he's Lord Bamford now. When I was there, it was Sir Anthony Bamford. And it was his father that just after the war set up the company. After the Second World War, set with a trailer, and then obviously a backhoe loader off the back of that, hydraulics. and was probably the first to enter into that sort of marketplace. And it's just grown from there to something like about a £7 billion business. With, I think the last time I saw the results, it was something like about £600 million profit, which, for an English business that lives not that far away, is absolutely amazing. Competing on a global scale against Americans, Chinese, all the other countries that can produce relatively cheaper, if you like. So they do a fantastic job.
Yeah, and it would appear, obviously, I've not seen it, but quite an entrepreneurial organisation, and a global player, and it must be easy to get your strategy right or wrong, sorry, and go from top to hero to zero quickly. So no, they've done brilliantly, and I think it's one of those companies. I know nothing about them, but I'm really proud of them. It's strange, something to do with their brand. It must be.
Yeah, the branding is absolutely amazing. The way they go about doing things is very clever. It's very straightforward, but it's just very clever, and it's it's based on the old school values, which I sort of subscribe to, if you like, in life, which is the integrity and hard work and doing the right thing in the right ways, and treating people right. And it's done really well off the back of that.
Yeah, and there must be some great experiences working with, you said, a global organisation, working with customers from all around the world with different cultures, styles, approaches, negotiation styles. I bet it was a real, exciting.
Real eye opener, particularly when in Europe, you've got so many different languages anyway, but fortunately everybody who was in authority, they all spoke English, which was fantastic for me, because I would I looked after Europe, and I'd rock up to these places, and these people all spoke perfect English, and but they all had different styles. If you went to Finland, for instance, like that, their style of negotiating completely different and completely unnerving. They would just sit in front of you, wouldn't say a word, and you'd have a silence for like 60 seconds, and it's deafening, that silence is. And you feel you've got to talk, but sometimes you just got to hold your nerve and just stay there after you've said what you said, and then basically you've got to wait for them, and they're waiting for you. And it's a very, very difficult situation when somebody does that to you. That pause is really difficult, and the Finns are superb at doing that. But you get to learn this, over a period of time. And it wasn't just them. The Germans had their own particular way. The French, the Italians, they've all got their own style, their own way of doing it. The French, no matter what system you got in place, the French wanted to do it their way. And that's just the way the French were. And you've got to accept, if you want to do the business, that's how you've got to do it, even though you thought it was a certain way. So each of them, there's nuances for each, type of person that you deal with. And it takes a bit of time to learn that. But great fun, because when you get to know them, you become one of them, and you get to find out, if you like, the real place that you go to. So if you went to if you went to Amsterdam, you'd get to feel the real Amsterdam, not the one that the tourist seeks, that sees or anything. They used to take you out, and you'd go to the places where they would go to and meet the normal people, as I call them, not the tourists. And that was probably, for me, the best part of the job, getting to meet the normal people. The people out in Poland were amazing. Absolutely. What lovely people they were. And I've got so many good stories, and I still hold, 20 years on, I still probably have got half a dozen people that I still speak to regularly. Well, I wouldn't say regularly, but certainly keep in touch with, to know what they're doing. One of my friends, he's now the CEO of a company called Rami Rent, it was Rami Rent. It was bought by a company called Loxham, but he's now, he's become that 20 years later. I did say to him what took his time, but but he's very clever, have done very well. But he's nothing to do with me anymore. I'm not even part of that industry. But it's just nice to keep in touch with people.
Yeah, and experiences and relationships shape you doing it going forward. You're absolutely right. And it's interesting that you come from outside the sector, logistics, into it. If you was just talking, for our viewers, what would you say is a misconception about the logistics sector?
Well, I think the first thing that struck me was that everybody, if you're not in within this industry, everybody thinks you just pick a parcel up and then you just deliver it somewhere. And they think it's pick it up, deliver it, and they just do not see all the nuances in between and the things that can go wrong in between. And everybody thinks it's simple. It really isn't. It's that night, they see that, as I've said before, they see the 10% above. That's the, oh yes, it's turned up on time. Thank you very much. That's great. But they don't see the 90% underneath where all the hard work is. You might have 100 locations to pick up vehicle parcels from, or 1,000 locations, and get them to 1,000 locations within the UK. It's just an amazing industry where you just think, how the hell does this? It's like a complicated ballet how they do these things and make it work, because obviously timing to get everything right. And when people sort of think, oh, he's turned up 15 minutes late or half an hour late, you think, well, yeah, I kind of see why, not everything is going to be on time, because you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of moving bits, and you just, it's amazing. So it's like when you see the Royal Mail, I mean, you see them delivering what they deliver, and you just think, how on earth does all that happen so well? And it fascinates me, absolutely fascinates me, because like I say, if you like somebody outside, it just looks so simple, and it just isn't. It just isn't, and there's just so much to learn and know. And you think it's not good. I remember coming into it and thinking to myself, well, you got some pricing, you give some pricing to somebody, they accept it. Like that, you go and pick the stuff up, and then you go and deliver it the next day. Dead simple, no problem. And the world just doesn't work like that, I'm afraid. There's a million and one things that can go wrong with it, and it's how you fix those things, get them moving further forward. And it just fascinates me how it all comes together and works. And it's such a fantastic industry because it's such a big industry as well. And there's just so many different types of goods that need delivering, from a small piece of paper, if you like, to anything that could be an 80-ton machine or something like that. And you just think, how does this all work? And it's amazing, really. And I think it's one of these industries that people just take for granted. It's just there. Things just turn up, and they don't think about it. If you're not in the industry, they just think it just turns up, and there's so much more to it than what people meet. And I think everybody just lands in this industry, and whatever, it gets under your skin, and you begin to love it. And I wouldn't want to be in anything else. I'll be honest. I spent a lot of time in construction plant, loved it, but if I'm honest, I'd never go back. This is such a great industry, and it's evolving all the time. With technology and everything, which is fantastic. So, why would you not want to be in that? Because I think some things that are going off here are cutting edge.
No, thank you. And so the next question I'll ask you to do with technology, but funny, I spoke to someone earlier today from the Road Haulage Association. Get my lips working, sorry, my beer. And they were saying that about 1 in 9 people, work in or something closely associated with the logistics sector. So it's a much bigger thing than we think. Yeah, it's a massive thing. So, and one of the things that hopefully over time the government will recognise that more and give it more support, because it makes the UK PLC tick. One of the questions I was going to ask you about is, how is technology and AI and automation changing the game in logistics and in the world, in your opinion?
Yeah, well, I think it's one of these things. I've seen a lot of changes over the last sort of 10 years or so, but I think now more than anything else, I think the technology is there to do these things. You've got drones dropping things off. That's just the start of things. You know what I mean? Then you've got automated vehicles where you won't need drivers. They'll just go from A to B. And then, so it's going to change the landscape of what the types of jobs are. There's no question. And it's going to happen a lot quicker than what people think. I think over the next 5 years, you will not recognize what that looks like. And I think it's going to affect jobs, because there's going to be, if you like, there's not going to be so much of the manual jobs that are going off, because that, there's going to be less people that's needed. There's going to be less drivers that are needed, which in some respects not a bad thing, because there's a shortage of drivers and there has been for a long time. And I think the laws and the way things are distributed and the way things are delivered to your home, whether it's into a locker and you go and pick it up in the future, I don't know. That certainly started. There's no question about it. Will there be home deliveries from the Royal Mail? no idea. They might just, again, you might just have a locker. They do this in Spain. A lot of places just have a locker and they deliver all your mail to this particular locker, and that's it. So, not going house to house. And I remember when the milkman used to come to our house, and then the guy who's selling you the pop, and then the guy who's selling the fishmonger used to come to your house. You don't see these guys anymore. I'm sure they do it to a smaller extent, but you just don't see these things anymore. And I think in the future, you might get drones that potentially that can drop in things off, but I think you will just have an allocation of a space, and that's where something will be dropped off, if you like, unless it's something that's much larger, obviously, which you need putting in your house, like a bed or something like that. Well, then that's slightly different because that does require people. But I think the landscape for jobs will change. The technology is just going so fast. I think it's difficult for everybody to really visualize it because it is moving so fast. And I think even the people that are developing all this technology probably wouldn't be able to say what it would be like in 10 years' time. I think over the next 2 to 5 years, the changes will be amazing. Computing power changes and things like that. And as the computing power changes, not just supercomputing, but quantum computers, once they've bottomed out what to do with those things, well, then, the world's your oyster, really, for solving all the problems that you really want to do for logistics and everything. So I think things will become more efficient because, obviously, as humans, we're squidgy organic things and we make mistakes. Whereas, a robot will only make a mistake if you programmed it wrong. So, I think there'll be plenty of jobs for programmers and people that control these automations and things like that. But I think a lot of the jobs will go, and I think that will be an interesting thing to see what happens because, how then do you develop the people to come through? I think the people that coming through, the next generation, I think the sort of roles they will be, I don't think you can necessarily replace the relationship side of things. You wouldn't want a relationship with a robot or an AI over the phone. They're very good and they can do various, amazing things, but that rapport and understanding, they don't know. I just can't see how that's going to work. Maybe in 30, 40 years time, maybe that'll be the case. But at the moment, I just can't see that that's going to be replaced. So the people that are relationship builders, the ones that can communicate very well with each other and, understand how the world works a little bit, they will do very well. And I think the people that, will probably look at the manual jobs, they're going to get less and less. So I think that's going to affect a lot of people.
Yeah, we shall see. But, as technology evolves and other things evolve, and society evolves, the world around it fits to match it, doesn't it? So I really appreciate that. So just want to say
it's
thank you,
difficult
Andrew,
to see
for
what
your time.
it's going to be.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I just want to say thank you very much for your time. It's good to speak to you, and I really appreciate your time. Yeah.
Nice one.